Hello my loves and welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do something that was requested a while back and I finally got to doing it for you guys so you can see how I do my brows and techniques and ways that you can do your brows and fill them in without making them too heavy. So if you'd like to see how I did that, stay tuned. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to click on the little bell down below so you don't miss out on any video that I upload. And let's get into the video. So there are a few tips that I will be showing you guys and the way I do my brows, ways to be able to keep them very natural, or if you like them to be a little more dramatic or just more defined the way I do them. So if you'd like to see what product is the best for you, just stay tuned to see what I recommend. Some of the things that you might be needing is either a pomade, a pencil, or a powder. These are the three ways to be able to fill in your brows, and there are different looks that you will get from each one of them. Also, you can't forget to use any type of concealer so you can define your brows and make them look a little more like you've done a lift on your brow. It looks so weird without my brows. What do you guys think of these little space buns? Let's get to business. So the first thing you want to know about your brows is just what you really want to see. Like in my brows, I'm missing hairs right here and a little bit like underneath there. This one isn't too bad, but just like right there and a little bit in the side. So I mean, they are pretty good, but they're not full enough for me. What I like to do is fill them in and give them like that nice arch. I will just let you know and show you how I fill in my brows. You don't have to do it this way completely, and there's a lot of different ways to be able to fill them in. So the number one thing is, how do you want your brows to look like? Because depending on the products that you use, they will either look very natural, very unnatural, or just completely butched up. Some of the ways, if you are not the type of person that wants your brows to be super and fleek like that Instagram where it's just really defined and all that perfection jazz, if you want your brows to be more softer, I would suggest using some type of powder. This is just the one that I have. This is just like a nice cooler brown. Now, you can use some type of eyeshadow as well, as long as it has some type of cool tone. Now, you don't want to use any type of warm tone browns because that will just, it has like an undertone of orange and that'll just make it too unrealistic for you. So this is just the color that I have. It's a very cool type of brown. So this is one of the ways to, if you want your brows to be more natural, more softer, use a powder. Also, if there are other ways to be able to make them softer by using products such as, these are just the ones that I have. I have this MAC. It's just a very dark brown. Now my brows are already pretty dark, so this just enhances them. This is a good way to be able to set your brows without being too much. Now this is like a waterproof brow set. It has a little spoolie like this. And it doesn't really have any fibers, but it's just like a dark brown gel that sets your brows. So if you don't normally do your brows, this is a really good way to use it to make them look more defined and keep them waterproof. A few other things that you can use is I have this brow gel, and this almost has like a little fibers that fills in some of the spots that have tiny little hairs, and that's the spoolie right there. So this one it's got like the microfibers, that's tinted brow gel. So this is also one of the other ways to use for your brows if you want them to look a little natural and nothing too drawn. And also the fourth way to be able to do it is eyebrow cream, and that's what that looks like. So it's got a little brush on one side, and then when you pop it open, it has this gel. Now I love this, but I don't love it at the same time. The reason being is because I can use this and just fill in some of the sparse parts that I do have in my brows, and it works amazing. But I feel like the brush gets really dirty and it's very hard to get in here. Like, I feel like it destroys the brush because the only thing you can do is just poke it in there. It doesn't make sense. So I do really like using this on some days, but at the same time, it's really hard to keep it clean, especially the brush. So it's kind of up to you. Now I will show you the ways that I do my brows and the way I like them to look. I normally use a pencil. This is one of my favorites. This is the brow definer from the Anastasia. This is one of my favorite ways to fill in my brows because it does look very defined with the way I do them, but it's also very soft. It's not as harsh. Now, if I was to do my brows with a brow gel like this one, and this is actually in the color taupe because once it dries, it does appear a lot darker, and because my brow hairs are like dark brown to black, if I ever use, or if you ever use a dark brown, it'll just make them too dramatic and you will not like it. So this is what that looks like. It's very light, I know, but if I was to fill my brows with this, you guys would see that it is a lot more dramatic. I used to use this a lot, but because it made it a little more dramatic, I decided to go back to my brow pencil, and I just feel like it's easier and faster for me. That's why I choose to go that route. So the one thing to remember is if you want your brows to be more natural, use powders and pencils. If you want them more dramatic, use brow pomade. They will be a lot more waterproof, and they do make it more dramatic. I will show you how I do my brows, and the number one thing to remember is know what you want in your brows. So what type of shape are you looking for? So let's close this up and you guys can see the whole action. As you can see, my brows are missing hairs right there and a little bit like right there underneath. So the first thing you'll do is just use the little spoolie part to brush your brows. The first thing that I do is I will start at the very bottom, so start right in at the beginning of my brow and go straight to the arch. Now, if you don't like your arch to be more defined, you could really follow just your brow shape. Now mine, for the longest time, I couldn't find my brow shape and it was really hard, but with how I decided or with how I started to fill them in, it just made sense for me to do it this way. Now the easiest way to fill it in is to start outlining your brow so you can see exactly what you're working with. So you can see how that makes a huge difference already just by filling in that little sparse part that I'm missing hairs, and you already have your shape going. So then I will go back and at the top carve out my arch. And also what else to keep in mind is the outer part of your brow can be a lot more dramatic. You could use a lot more pressure when you're using the pencil to draw that in. And then the further you go towards the inner part of your brow, you want to keep it very soft, very light-handed, because you don't ever want to have that squared look. That's just unrealistic. It looks really stupid. Don't do it. So then I will go back and slightly draw that in. When I am done with that, I will go back and use this part to brush that out so that we don't have any type of squared look, because it does have a little bit of that at this point. So we'll just keep brushing that or blending till you like the results. What I'm really liking to do is taking like a small tiny little brush and brushing it out just to give it more of like that feathered feel so it doesn't have any harsh lines. I'll do the second one and be right back. This side is a lot more arched, so I always have to be careful not to arch it too much because then they look completely different, or at least I notice. I know you guys would never. That's one of the other things that you might struggle is if your brows are not the same on two sides, and it does make it harder to fill them in, but the more you do it, the better you get, so just keep on practicing. And one other tip is if you guys want your brows to look a lot more defined, and this is one of the tricks that I use a lot, is to use some type of very fine brush like this. This is just the one that I have. It's one of the best because it's super flat. And any type of concealer, that's just the one that I use, the Boing. You really could use any type of concealer that is pressed because it's just easier to use. So I just grab a little bit of that concealer and define the brow bone, and it just makes your brows look a lot more lifted and gives you a bigger illusion of your arch. And that is how I do my brows. And thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!